we're really starting to meta-detail. We're taking stuff at the level of just ideas and data and information into principle. Once we have it here, now we can start taking it even down further. And this is what I like calling meta-detailing. And of course, we could spend the rest of the day just doing this until we got some really great principles. And so one of the things I would recommend in the future is for you to really, if you were to pick out your 10 principles for you doing business, what would be the most 10 important principles for you? And of course, once you identify them, mind to muscle them. Mind to muscle them for yourself. Mind to muscle them with anybody you work with. Have trainings to get those things down into the neurology of the people. That's what creates culture. Because what is culture but cultivating the minds, the emotions, the lives, the states of people? So if I want to know what culture you live in, I'm really asking, how has your mind been cultivated? Cultivated to what, in what way? And so a culture, when we demystify it, is really just the frames of mind that we're operating from. And so if you have a business and you want to create a business culture of being professional, being ethical, having fair trade, adding value, always learning, staying ahead of the market, being cutting edge, whatever criteria value that for you makes you feel successful and effective, then as you take that and mind to muscle that so that it is when people walk in, they get that feeling that's how you operate. And so that's that congruence also. Well, we could add that, that a business is congruent. That what it says, it does. It's just not, because the danger is, bringing somebody in, doing a vision statement, great vision statement. Nobody actually lives that way. If the vision statement comes from below and comes up as a shared vision, and you can coach that through group and team coaching and emergent vision. So what I want to do is to introduce meta-detailing as a concept. And so page 95 on meta-detailing. Meta-detailing means taking great ideas and detailing out the details to generate a list of specific things to do about some brilliant concept. So in the book Empire Builder of the Northwest, modeling somebody, Hill writes this: good fund managers have the ability to immerse themselves in minutia one moment, zoom out, and look at the really big picture from 30,000 feet, then dive back into the details again. When I read that in that book, I thought that just succinctly defines what we mean by meta-detailing. So this meta-program is I do both. And I have the flexibility to zoom in and out from global to specific. So meta-detailing gives us the ability to combine and synthesize inductive, deductive thinking, perceiving whole and specific details. We think in global ways specifically. We zoom in on a picture and zoom out. We foreground a sound sensation and background others. We can chunk up to larger units of information, get a larger perspective, as well as chunking down to very small and tiny bits. We can use language of precision and pull apart a linguistic model of the world. We can use hypnotic language and meta questions to move up and construct new enhancing realities. And so when you put that together synergistically, the new gestalt is meta-detailing. So that's what we mean by that. The heart and essence of genius is meta-detailing. Robert Dilts, in one of his books on strategy as a genius, talks about Walt Disney. And he said Walt Disney, he just had this gift, this prerequisite of genius of meta-detailing. And his meta on the cartoons, when they were drawing Donald Duck and Bugs Bunny and Daffy Duck and all the rest, Goofy and the rest of them, he had this ability, he had some meta concepts. And one concept was make them human-like. So when he would walk in and one of his artists was drawing a mouse but it looked too much like a mouse, he would say make it more human-like. Well, more human-like is pretty global. And Walt Disney had this ability to say, in this picture here, make the eyelashes longer. Make the eyes bigger. Make the eyes look like a human eye's looking, not like an animal's eyes, a rodent's eyes. His meta was also charming. So when they made the eyelashes longer, he would say, let's make them like a beautiful lady's long eyelashes. And so charming and human-like, he could meta detail to that line. I think Charles Schulz has that ability. Just a line or something with the Peanuts cartoons would just have so much packed in it. And he could take the concepts, whether it's Lucy being aggressive and coming on, or Charlie Brown being depressive, or Snoopy dancing, and you had those little lines with his feet. You know, it looks like he's moving, but there's no movement there. So meta detailing as a prerequisite of genius. So a genius sorts for, pays attention to, and recognizes detail from a meta position. If you don't do it there, you get lost in the details. Details, and you don't know relevancy. You don't know pertinency. You don't know appropriateness or fittingness. When trained, or natural geniuses can recognize and operate from a meta pattern or principle that empowers him or her to see and hear and feel all the richness of the details. That's what we mean by that. So meta detailing refers to the gestalt of small chunking from the perspective of the large chunk. And so I would really recommend, as a mastery skill, really giving yourself to develop that mastery skill of meta detailing. The power of meta detailing. In paragraph 1, it helps us not to get caught up in the details. One of the things that sometimes holds us back is we get caught up in the details and we don't know relevancy from irrelevancy. So we can just get caught up. The next paragraph says, in this way, meta detailing enables us to stay focused, directed, insightful as to what makes a difference, and persistent. It enriches our abilities to make decisions. So this is the power if you can combine the two. Meta detailing saves us from the other extreme, living in the clouds. With great plans and tremendous vision, but without practical knowledge of how to take care of the details. Visionaries suffer from this one. They can develop a bad relationship to details. I hate details. I'm not a detail person. You know. So, quoting meta detailing, when I found it in Blotnick's book on Getting Rich Your Way, he describes an attitude that's typical of those that undermine success. He says about a certain person, his intense desire to be a wealthy executive made him scornful of small details of any sort. Why should I have to deal with this sort of crap? He asks exasperately. Unfortunately, the petty details are the essential and the abundant part of every aspect of business. And he noticed, as he modeled, and it was talking about a restaurant owner. He said the restaurant owner walked into this restaurant, and the restaurant owner noticed a table that had not been bussed, and the restaurant owner starts picking it up and taking care of it. And so taking care of the details and not feeling like the details are below you. Their existence, therefore, isn't the real issue. Your response to the details is the real issue. You can make a mountain out of a molehill if you want to. And what we discovered is that someone is likely to do precisely that if they don't happen to like their job. In fact, the more they disliked it, the more they resent it, the more resentful they are likely to be about its petty details. To put it more positively, people who enjoy their work usually don't notice the many details connected with each task they attend to. Because they're so caught up in the attention, the engagement, it means something to them. Okay. So what I've put on this page is lots of quotations and support for this whole concept of doing that. And when you can go down to the detail with your vision, meta detailing, when you go down and you see this is important, then it keeps you relevant, focused, decisive, clear. Here's some other quotations. By way of contrast, he spoke about some of the meta frames of values, beliefs, understandings, ideas, decisions in this other person. It gave Rita enormous satisfaction to do her job well. In a business in which even minor errors might look major to customers, she enjoyed seeing quality work produced. We don't always do it flawlessly, she said, but she was indeed prepared to try. So more about meta-detailing, and I've got some stuff there about wealth building. That is the meta-detailing of finances, bookkeeping, quality control over products and services, dealing effectively with customer satisfaction, employees, investments. Same thing with sales, same thing with health and fitness. So that leads to this statement, a question here. What higher level principles empower us to handle the details? What higher principle for business do you have that'll enable you to take care of the details?
Well, when you set your intention,
okay.
When you're working on the details, you're not working on the details, you're following through on your intention.
Okay. And so that's why the intentionality pattern, I think, is so powerful, and it is a meta-detailing pattern. You rise up to your highest intention and bring that down and see it through those eyes. So it's meta-detailing and integrating it. And so as you identify your principles, that'll answer this question. What higher level principles will help you handle the detail? What details do you hate? So what higher principle will help you to handle? Okay. Okay. So you can see where we're going with this. Here from The Millionaire Next Door, Thomas Stanley and William Denko, they write this. What kind of businesses do millionaires own? All kinds. You can't predict if someone is a millionaire by the type of business. After 20 years of studying millionaires, we have concluded that the character of the business owner is more important in predicting his level of wealth than the classification of the business. The missing ingredient, a key one, which operates so quietly that it had previously been overlooked, had to be present if someone was ever to become rich. They had to find their work absorbing, involving, enthralling. So then what we did yesterday with passion and intensity and energy is so key. Enjoying work doesn't mean thrilled to death every minute. If the quality, consciousness, happiness people experienced and the amount of visible joy they demonstrated were the criteria, we concluded that no one enjoys the work they do. We adopt another principle, how absorbing. So instead of looking for how happy are you, they look for how absorbed are you, how engaged are you in this activity. And so to be engaged obviously comes from a higher principle. So the pattern that comes out of this is on the next page, detailing business success. So we're going to begin to identify some principles. If you were to identify 1, 2, or 3 key principles that from this day forward you're going to make the guiding meta frame for what you do, then step number 1 is identify a principle, identify 2 or 3 principles. What do the experts in your field know that gives them the edge? And it might very well be some of the things we've already mentioned that you want to make so. What principles, concepts, understandings would enhance, what frames of mind. And then the work begins in step 2. Express one of these principles fully. Write it out until you have a clear expression. Clarity will help to translate it, clarity. Rewrite it until you describe the principle with both clarity and succinctness. So clarity first, succinctness, and then the third thing we'll add is compellingness. Once you have that, then as you make that statement, you can step into the state that principle evokes, experience it fully in the context of your work. As you identify that one principle, then what behavior would fit and be congruent with that? What would you see, hear, feel? So we're really detailing it down. Repeat until you can create 5 to 10 details that'll give flesh and blood to it. So this is mind to muscle amplified and extended out much further. Step into the details fully as you experience them. Then go back to the principle. So we'll link all this together synergistically. Then from within that vivid imagery of the detailing, shifting upward to the governing principle that drives and organizes this, open your eyes and ears to experience the world from that meta level of detail and put that into a spin, repeat that several times. And what we're doing is detailing a principle into business success. So who'd like to do that? let me do a demonstration with someone, and we'll just, instead of writing it out, we'll talk it out, and then we'll turn everybody loose to do it. So who's got a principle that you'd like to really drive into neurology and ready to detail it out? Okay, Denise? Okay. So principle, what would you really like to commission as a principle, and maybe one that isn't a principle that you've been operating from, a new one that you would really like, you would like to commission it to really govern and guide how you do business?
Well, I just got a new one this morning, and
Okay.
the principle that I would like to really put mind to muscle is that what business is all about is relationships where you're adding value and giving service, all for the and making a profit. Now, I didn't verbalize that as good as I had it written down, but basically, what is business is about? It's making relationships over a long term that are going to add value for them and service for them and create a profit for me.
Okay. So as you're making that statement, you're making it clear and clear, more and more succinct. How clear is that for you? Do you got a clear picture of that idea?
It's coming better. It's not a us them. It's a we now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's see how succinct you can say that.
A business principle is that the whole idea of a business is to make a profit by having wonderful long-term win-win relationships where I make a profit and someone else gets a wonderful service.
Okay.
That adds value.
Okay. More succinct.
Distill that down, huh? The whole idea of having a business.
So let me have you say it as a belief. I believe.
Okay.
Because I think
Okay,
it'll
now
make it
we're
more
here.
succinct.
Now we're here.
I believe.
I really believe that the reason for having a business is to develop relationships where I add enough value and service that they pay me a nice profit.
Okay. So how's that feel?
Yeah, let's do it again.
Okay. Okay.
I really believe that the reason for being in business is that I develop relationships with people. The relationships are primary. It's through those relationships that I'm building with people that I give them a service and a value that they're very willing to pay me money for.
Okay. And I notice that now you're using your body to really gesture that out from your heart to the
Didn't
things
even
you do
notice that I am,
to what
I
you're
know.
giving.
Mark
Okay.
says yes.
Okay. Okay. How compelling does that feel right now?
I'm liking it. It's
Okay.
making me smile.
Okay.
Yeah. You know, I got to decide to do that.
Mm-hmm.
And from this day forward, I make a decision that what my business is no longer what Denise can offer someone, but rather it's building a relationship with people and building that relationship with people so that I add so much value and so much service that they are willing to pay more and more of a premium just to connect with me.
Okay. Okay. And how compelling does that feel?
I'm liking it.
Okay. Okay. What emotions are coming?
Happiness,
Okay.
excitement, possibilities, solidity, long term,
Okay. Okay.
congruency, legitimacy.
Okay. As you step into those states with that decision, that belief, that principle, let's start detailing it out. What are some of the things that you can do to give flesh and blood? How will anybody know that you're doing that you're seeking to create relationships that add value that's going to be profitable for you?
It's by the value that I add. It's by my continued interest, whether they choose me as a coaching person or not. It's maintaining that relationship because the whole thing is what can I bring to that relationship.
So if I had a video camera, what would I see?
If you had a video camera, you'd be seeing, like something that I just did last week, an Asian director that's on the track for VP. I had a chance at getting her for a coaching client, and she chose another Asian woman that had actually been coaching for 25 years. And I went, I totally understand. That's wonderful. And to this consultant that's the organizational development consultant, I said, do you mind if I send you an article on voice inflection, voice tonality that I think this director could really use? And she said, oh, thank you, to give to the other coach that was going to coach this woman. Because she was Asian, her dialect was so bad, and so I just added that value to this consultant, and it just felt good. So I was building.
Okay. So the first flesh and blood thing is sending an article that you think will add
with their permission,
no,
because
with
have
no
you ever
intention.
gotten so inundated with mail that you just
Okay.
don't, it's an irritation, so with their
So you're
permission.
sending an article with their permission, something that will add value that has really no immediate value for you.
No.
Okay, give me another one.
From real life experience, or what I'm going to
Well,
be
what
doing?
you're going to do.
Okay.
How will you make this manifest?
Giving
specifics.
seminars for the community. I live in a community where there's a lot of very large businesses, and one of the ideas that I have is I'll have my son cater like hors d'oeuvres and wine and do an hour seminar for executives.
So this would be a free introduction?
Or I'm thinking now of adding value to it and actually charging for it,
Okay.
and to make it valuable, because if it's a free seminar and it's on your calendar, you can blow it off, but if you've already spent $50 for an hour seminar, you're not going to blow it off.
Okay, so another thing.
Just be a resource for people.
And how?
I'm really good at pulling from so many different areas, and I just see the likeness and just being a resource for how about expanding your thinking by looking at this theory or this.
Okay, so how would you do that?
I guess I already do that. I'm just
And how do you do
constantly
that?
aware of it. I just make notes. I've got to send this to so-and-so. I've got to send this to
Okay,
so-and-so.
so sending
Being
things to people.
Being a networking person and just saying, oh, can I, like I just joined a business-to-business networking group, and I haven't even been a member yet, but I'm already saying to this one guy, he wants a trainer. Oh, I know someone that would be a good trainer. I know
Okay,
someone
so-
that could help you advertise.
So
Like,
recommending someone.
yeah.
Okay. Okay. Another one.
Of adding value. I think just
adding value or building
just-
relationship.
I think it goes up to one of the highest frames that I've got, and that's that people are innately valuable, and that
Okay.
each and every person.
And instead of going up, we want to come down.
Okay. Okay.
Detailing.
Detailing. Okay. And because I value every person and think that they're uniquely created, I'm going to spend the time getting to know what their unique gift to the world is.
Okay. So spending time listening.
Yes.
Finding out, questioning.
Yes.
Okay. Another detail.
Another detail for that would be scheduling time, not getting so busy, but scheduling time to be sociable with these
Okay,
people, not
writing
letting
the
business,
schedule. Okay.
right, not letting business take over, but saying it's just as
Okay.
important that I have lunch with.
Okay. So we've got 5 details now, and I just want you to go into the state of those details.
Okay.
Into the state of those details.
Gonna
Sending an
reiterate for me?
article.
Okay.
Sending an article. Asking people questions. Referring somebody or talking about to somebody that you know somebody who could do something. Creating a seminar and inviting CEOs to that seminar. So here's these details. And as you hold those details, seeing, hearing, feeling exactly in whatever context that is and what you're doing and where you are, and being in your body at that primary state level, doing those details,
Yeah,
then another
down
part,
to knees.
then another part of your mind, which probably is already at the meta detail, meta level, bringing that down to the details and grounding that principle so it's with those eyes and that feeling, those values. And then as you bring that down and stay at the primary level and just imagine tomorrow and the next day and just staying at the detail level from operating from that higher governing principle, staying at the detail level.
Yeah, and enjoying that, because I do enjoy that.
Okay.
In fact, tomorrow morning I've got my 1-hour follow-up with a client that was a software engineer who got a job.
Okay. Excellent. Okay. So what we're doing is putting
Yeah,
that
it feels
together.
good to be a resource. It feels good to offer those things to
Okay.
people to, yeah.
Okay. And you may want to commission the unconscious part of your mind just to bring more and more specifics, more and more details, so that you can put flesh and blood.
Remembering
flesh.
birthdays, sending birthday cards. Yeah, okay. And what would be useful, very useful there, is a program like ACT or something like that, so you know birthdays. And I try specifically to remember spouses' names and children's names and ages.
Okay.
And
Okay. Good. So you're going to let this principle guide and govern each and every activity?
Yeah, it's down to marketing to a segment
Okay.
of one.
Okay.
Yeah.
Excellent. Give her a hand.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We'll turn you loose to find a principle or two. It'd probably be good to identify it and to write it before you start. So we'll give you a few minutes to do that, and then the process is very simple. And what we're doing is detailing. I would suggest pick a principle that is not in your life now, that's new, that's different, but you know it would really make a difference. And I'd like to commission it. I'd like to really let it govern the way I operate and find those details. The more global you are, the more challenging this will be. And if you coach someone, just when they go up, just bring them back. And you may want to use your hands in this, you know. Yes, I know you go there. I want you to come back down here and get those details. Because you may have all these great feelings, you may believe that, it may be a part of you there, but if you can't find a way to express it, how will they know? In fact, you may wonder, why don't they get it? And that's the purpose of meta-detailing it, so they can get it in some specificity. Any questions on how to do that? So let me give you 5 minutes just to do some writing before we do that, so that everybody can write a principle or two. Just identify some great principles, and this will start the process of maybe identifying your top 10 principles for doing business. So if you write that, make it clear, make it succinct, and then make it compelling, so when you get with your person, you're really ready to go and primed. So we'll put on some music and just let you write for a couple minutes. In 5 minutes, Scott will blow the whistle, and we'll grab a partner. So how did that go?
Good.
Okay. How did it feel to meta-detail it down to specifics? It was okay. Okay, it was tolerable. Didn't hurt too much to flesh and blood it down to those details. This is the mind-to-muscle pattern, except it's expanded by just really finding more and more specifics and then stepping those specifics and really bringing that meta-governing frame to it, so that the synergy starts to create, so that when I'm in the details, I've got reasons and purposes and higher level meanings that makes it meaningful. So details become meaningful. And that's really the key. Then it'll be easy doing details. Because then they're not details. You're really immersing them, embedding them in something much broader and higher. And so that's the key for that. Yesterday, I skipped over. We just didn't have time to deal with a time matrix, so I do want to go back and didn't have time for the time matrix. Page 86 is the time matrix, and I do want to spend some time talking about this and the relationship it has to our lives. Immanuel Kant, many, many years ago in the 15th century, he was looking and thinking about time in his book on the Critique of Pure Reason, and he thought time was so innate as a concept, because he realized it was just a concept, but he thought it was so innate that it was part of our brain, and he called it a priori. And he thought there were some other concepts like space and time that were a priori to our experience. Well, I think we invent time, but that indicates how close it is to us. And so our experience of time, our concepts of time, our beliefs about time, Gauthier says, are you earnest? Seize this very moment. What you can do or dream, you can do, begin it. Boldness has genius and power and magic in it. What a quote. So when we start talking about the matrix of time, in NLP we talk about our timelines. How do we represent time? Because time does not exist. Events exist. And time is our comparison mentally between what we did, what we are doing, what we may do, the comparison of events. And so we make a timeline. Does everybody know your timeline? Okay, point to your past. Okay. Okay, so some back there, some over there, some over here. So we have a sense of where we put the past. The present, how far out does the present go? It comes to you. So what direction does the present come? Okay, some's closer. Okay. Okay, and the future? Out there. You can see the difficulty of a presenter. When you think about your future, I met a guy who came for some work a number of years ago, and he came for stress management. And after some discussion, I said, well, where is today? And it was right on the skin. And I said, just push out today to where you have a sense of time. And his shoulders dropped and he relaxed. And I said, my today is about out here. And so he did that, and he said, I'd never get anything done because I would just feel no urgency. And I said, well, where would it feel good? And so he brought it in about here. And to some extent, the leverage in his matrix was just that one question and that one shift of the way he represented today. So our sense of time and where we live time. If you drew a circle and drew three parts of it, how much percentage do you live in the now? How much do you live in the present, the future, and the past? If you were to identify percentage, do you live 30% in the past, 30% in the future? What would that leave? 40% in the present? Or is it 60% in the present, 20% in the present, 5%? How much in the future? And so if you start to gauge percentage-wise how much of your mental, emotional time, where do you live? In what time zone? How far back in the past? When you do work with the past, what do you use it for? For learning, which would be a good use. For resources, to feel bad, to regret. So what you do with time and where you live, a good percentage seems to me to use the past for learning and resources for moving into the future. And if I use 10 or 20% of my mental and emotional time from there, and then most of my time in the present, 40, 50, 60% in the present, and then anticipating where I'm going to spend the rest of my life. How long your timeline is also another question. How long do you anticipate to be around? How far out does your timeline go? Does it go to 70, 80, 90, 100? I read somewhere in some medical books that the human body is designed to live 140 years. So I put my timeline out 140 years. And it's really interesting when you put it out there. When I did that, I started realizing what I'm doing today is going to have some influence. And if I do get to 140 or 120 or whatever it is, I don't want to have a lot of regrets. The way I treated my body and the way I treated health and fitness and things. So how long is your timeline? Are you in time or out of time? And do you have the choice of both timelines? We talk in NLP as if you've got one choice. What is it, in or out? Well, just make both. And have a way of sequencing. Now I'm in time, now I'm out of time. So do you have at least two timelines? Have at least two. So that if your timeline, if your sense of time goes through your body, you will tend to be in time. And you'll be lost in time, in the moment. You're actually in primary state, and there's no sense of time. When we step out and we recognize time, we call that through time. And now we can sequence it and know what time it is and how long the duration of something occurs. And so this is a major part of NLP, the timeline things, but there's so much more we can talk about time, whether it's fast time or slow time. And the different kinds of times. In the book Timelining, Bob and I identified, I think, 16 kinds of time. 16 different kinds of meta-time. So there's lots that we can do with time. Today we've looked at time in terms of your business and being timely, being appropriate, knowing how to fit things in time, how to sequence things, how to use time, time management, which actually isn't time management, it's managing ourselves in events with our energy and our sequencing of things. And so when we go to the time matrix, there's just lots and lots of things. Probably one of the most important things are the meanings about time. Not only the kinds of times, but the meanings. What do you believe about time? Do you believe you have all the time in the world? Do you resist time? Do you hate time? So what do you believe? What would be a good supporting belief about time?
You get 24 hours a day and use it the best you can because you may never get it back again. Every day should be spent wisely.
Okay, every day, seizing the moment, being present to this day. And so as we look at the beliefs that we have about time, our beliefs about how we have power matrix, to manage ourselves through time, through events. If you were to gauge your time management skills from 0 to 10, how efficient are you with time? Do you waste time? Are you efficient with time? Do you have a sense of having plenty of time? And so what would you need to do to create that sense? Because most of us know that if we feel pressured, and usually it's our concepts of time, we feel pressure, then that can send us into a stress overload. And we can actually feel threatened by not having enough time. And so our beliefs, our sense of self with it, our sense of power with time, and you can see a lot of the different things there on page 86 with regard to time, and then the interface of time with the other matrices. We've been talking about this, and so one of the things that I think would be real useful now is making time for change. Is there anything that you want to do, that you've been thinking about in these days that we've been here, in terms of your skills, your goals, some of the things you want to do, that you'd like to make time for? Does anybody have some things that you've said that now you need to make time for? Well, that's usually what we have to do. We have to schedule it in. We have to do that. Who's got something like that? What do you like to have more time for?
Just the mindfulness. I think of that one word of being what has been on my mind that day. When you, in the evening, talked about the logging of states. And just either doing that graphically or thoughtfully, but in a sense being more thoughtful about my thoughts, more mindful about what's in my mind.
So taking time at the end of the day to do some review, do some awareness, some recognition of what's been going on. Okay. How long would that take if you did that?
I think it could happen in a short period of time, 5 minutes, 10 minutes.
Okay. Okay. So making time for awareness, making time for what else? What else are you going to go home and make time for?
Exercise.
Exercise. Okay. And how much time are you going to give yourself for exercise?
You got to. If you do it more frequently, you need less time per day.
Okay. So how much time? Half an hour. Okay. Okay. Anybody else? That you're going to make time for something or another?
Two books inside me that I love to write.
Okay. And how much time will you devote to that on a daily or every other day or whatever?
I haven't clear at the moment because there's just so many.
Okay.
Some of these other things, maybe sort out some other priorities and prioritize some other things that I feel overwhelmed by because it came out, there's just too many things that I do. I've got to prioritize.
Okay.
And find that time.
I want to make time for myself to work on all this stuff that I've been learning and constantly making it part of what I do every day.
Okay.
I want to finish my basement, put a den in my basement.
Okay, so make time for that. There's somebody else over here.
I want to make time to find the detail of a metaphor and for a presentation, write it out, bullet it, and then kind of chunk up for the presentation.
Okay, so this is something that won't be an ongoing, every day for months and kind of lifestyle, fitting something new into it. It's just one thing that you want to make time for. Okay.
I'd like to quit taking so much time to do everything.
Okay, so you'd like to be more efficient in what we're going to do. Okay.
Matter of fact, I have such a problem with time, or have had. It's softening up through this training this week, but that I'm afraid to try to do some things because I know they're going to take me too much time. So it's like I don't do them.
Okay. So as we think about the structure of that, fear of something taking time, and what we can do with some of how we meditate ourselves, Doug.
Yeah, I have a problem with, do I experience time as a primary state in time or as a meta state through time? Why would...
Are you aware of time? Just all the time? You're aware of time?
All the time?
Most of the time?
Yeah.
Generally, you know what time it is?
A whole lot of different things.
So that's a clue that you're outside of time. Now, can you get lost in time and just not know what time it is and be in the eternal now?
Yeah.
You can step in and just forget time.
Yeah.
Is that very common?
Yeah.
Are you late very often?
No.
Never late. So you're pretty sequential.
But I get lost in between. If I have time to get lost, I get lost.
So, so it sounds like you back and forth between in time and then out of time. So when you're sequential, when you know what time it is, you're sequential. We call that through time. And then when you're in time, you're so much inside of it, you don't notice it. And so you're random. And people who are in time and live that way, they can get lost. They're always late.
Okay.
And they tend to think that time is their enemy, and they fight and resist time. Whereas the sequential person, the through time person, tends to like time and love to sequence it. And they're the ones who wear watches and do time, day timers and things like that.
So why is in time a primary state?
Well, because you're engaged with something and you don't notice time. Time is a meta state. Time is a meta-awareness. There is no such thing as time. It's a concept. Have you ever stumbled over a hunk of time that someone left? Say, oh boy, more time.
I'm getting cross-eyed. So I just don't, for some reason, I don't get why.
Because it doesn't exist. What exists?
So primary states don't exist?
No, prime does not exist.
Okay, time doesn't, but it's a primary state.
So when you're in time, you're engaged with something. What exists is events. What exists is happenings. How do we measure time? Well, this planet is turning and rotating around a sun, so we measure time by how long that takes for that event and that event. We measure the event. So we measure one event by another event. So all we're doing is just comparing events. So at the primary level, events occur. And time does not. Time is a concept.
In fact, we measured time so inaccurately that every 4 years we have to add a day.
Yeah, exactly.
And in the Middle East, as I said, some of the look on people's faces when I said our weekend is Thursday, Friday, they went, it was a time concept.
Yeah.
And they don't have the same New Year.
So when I call...
the same length of year.
So
365 days.
Yeah, so time is just, it doesn't exist. So tonight when I get on the phone and call Michelle, it's going to be tomorrow, 8 hours earlier. And when she calls me, she calls to her past, because she's already had this day. But not really. We just say these words because we're at the same time. We're just different parts of the planet. And in Australia and Eastern Europe, there's places where the time zone is halved. So when you travel there, it's not 11:40, it's 10:10. So it does it by half-hour units, if you want to really mess up your time sense. But time does not exist. It's just a concept and a way we measure, punctuate, describe it. And yeah, it'll cross your eyes when you tell someone who doesn't know NLP or a little bit that time does not exist, because they'll go, well, look there, I got a time piece.
It doesn't exist, but it's that you call it a primary state. The existence, non-existence.
Because what's going on is engagement with an event. And when you're engaged with the event, you're not measuring time. You're not measuring events.
So it isn't the time, it's the event that's...
The event is the primary state. Okay. And so there is no time there because you'd have to step out to measure it. That's why time goes away in the genius state. That's why a child doesn't know time. And that's why animals don't have a sense of time. They're just in the now. So we have to lose our meta-mind to come back to that kind of experience.
You said time is a meta-awareness. I'd like to add more interpretation and give me feedback. Time is a meta-awareness of a sequence of events over a timeline.
Yeah, we say this event has happened. It's happening now. It will happen. And so we then sort that out by creating a line. And most of us do it because in books we've seen a timeline, and so that makes sense. It's easy to do. But some people don't have a timeline. Some people have drawers and filing cabinets and Rolodexes to measure time. I met a lady, one of my first NLP trainings I did. She was born in France, so her first language was French, and then her dad was German, so she learned German, and then they introduced English to her when she was 3 or 4 years old, so she had English, and how she sorted all that out was to do 3 spins. And so when I asked her, think about something in the past, her eyes would literally go. I'd say, well, okay, stop that. Think about something in the future. And she'd go. I said, what's going on? And it was like she was standing here, and January, if she was thinking in French, January, was moving this way, January of this year or that year, and it spiraled down. So it started her birth and spiraled up. And then when she saw it in German, it spent the other way. She was in her master's program, and she was trying to write her thesis, and she was trying to sort things out. And she was the most random person I've ever met, and she just could not sort things out. And she just had this spiraling thing in 3 languages spinning in different directions. She never knew what time it was. She was always late. She hated time. And so I said, well, let's just leave that intact, because I'm sure it has some positive values and benefits, and let's just make a line. And so you step out of that, step onto the timeline, sequence this out, and it did make a tremendous difference. She was able to sort things out, finish her thesis, and graduate. Steve Andreas describes even a stranger one. In one of his books, he describes this lady whose sense of time was lily pads. And time units was on this lily pad in her mind on this pond. There's all these lily pads of time units. And then they all came down and twangled together into all those strings that went down. So she needed something sorted out, and he tells the story of him working through that. Yeah, so time, when we get into time, it really a fascinating way that we sort it out so that we can tell, have I paid my taxes or not? It's good to know. And how do you represent time?
Something even higher meditative is look at God's time and just how much time are most people on earth, and then if something happens, kind of look at, well, in the bigger picture of things, how much that amount to, how important is that? So using time to kind of make decisions, or how much, what do I care about, what's important, what's valuable.
Right. So we get a larger perspective. We step out of this time frame and have a larger time frame, and then a 100-year time frame, a 1,000-year time frame, and then from that asking how important is any particular argument that's going on. So we can have eternity, or we can have a sense of being outside of time. And it's interesting what the mind will do. So if you do hypnotic kind of processes, you can say to somebody, I want you to just float back to that place of timelessness. And of course, they'll make sense of that and go do something with it, before time. And it's just a concept. It's concepts upon concepts, beliefs upon beliefs. And having a map about all of this stuff so that we can do things, and so that we can be present when the meeting starts, and we can get things done and be efficient, then becomes the real issue. So that's why I think separating in a circle, how much of your time do you spend in any of those time awareness zones, and what do you believe about that, and what would support you, and how do you sequence to make time for change? So who would like to make a change? It can be just a simple thing like exercise, adding that in, or the time at the end of the day. Or Scott, maybe we'll just use yours in adding some time to do this material, because that would be relevant. Okay, so I'm going to be on page 88 and just walking through these steps. You can see that the words in this particular pattern came from the coaching manual, and so the word coaching is there, but you can have any content that you desire. So what's important for you for adding time to study some of these materials?
What's important for me?
Yeah. Is it important?
Yeah, it's important.
Okay.
Yeah.
How is it important? What's important about that?
Well, it'll allow me to get more value out of these materials. I actually get some more and more results.
Okay, so value out of it and more results, and then how's that valuable?
I believe it'll improve my life, my experience of my life.
Okay, and so it sounds like it's a goal that's important and significant. Mm-hmm. Will it be challenging to make time for that?
At times it'll be challenging, yeah.
Okay. Okay. So what I'm going to ask you to do is to access some of your time frames about that and some of your intentions about that. How much time would you like to devote to studying some of these materials on a daily or every other day? Or what kind of a schedule would you like to set up?
Well, I think even at a minimum of 20 minutes. And you can do a lot in 20 minutes if you go through one of these patterns. And 20 minutes to 30 minutes would be a good amount.
And would you do that every day?
I would try to. I mean, there are going to be days when I'm traveling or... I would like to do it every day.
So if you did it for minimum of 20 minutes, or would you accept even something lower than that? What would be the minimum amount?
Well, I mean, you can do something even in 5 minutes. I mean, sometimes just a little tweak of something can change a lot. But I would say, let's say 10 minutes.
Okay, minimally 10.
Yeah, you got to read it and kind of think about it. And yeah.
Ideally 20 to 30?
Yeah.
Maximally?
Oh, it might be an hour.
Okay.
Without a break, I don't know that I go beyond an hour.
Okay. What would be the minimum times in a week that you would want to really set and make time for that?
The minimum number of sessions, or well, I mean, ideally I'd like to do it every day, but let's say a minimum of, if I at least 4 or 5 days. If I went, if I committed to myself to do it and then I didn't go for 3 days, I wouldn't feel very good about that.
Okay. So your ideal, your goal, your intention, if this is valuable to get better results, improve the quality of your life, give you more skills and mastery, if that's your intention, then ideally 20 minutes, 20, 30 minutes, 4 or 5 times a week.
Yeah, let's say a minimum of 5.
Okay.
If I'm distracted by somebody else's family or whatever, and I can go back to it. But after 2 days, I start feeling like I'm missing it, I think.
Okay. Currently, how much time do you devote to studying like that?
Oh. Like that? Or just studying in general?
Well, do you study on a regular basis?
Oh, yeah, every evening. Yeah.
Every evening?
Yeah.
Okay. Would this be in addition to your study?
In addition, I think that I would have to integrate it into that time.
Okay.
I do have to sleep sometime.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So what would be different? As you make time for this, what would be different?
This would have to become a priority in that block of time I have available to do this type of thing.
Okay.
Studying and learning. And
it
would have to be a priority in that. And the other things that I do in that period of time.
Okay. Have you been doing this in some way or some form already?
Off and on.
Okay.
Yeah, I wouldn't say it's been regularly scheduled, but off and on, yes.
Okay. So off and on means once a month?
Let me think about that. Yeah, probably. Yeah.
More like once a month.
Yeah.
And when you do that off and on from time to time, how long do you go?
Ooh. Anywhere from 5 minutes or a few minutes to half an hour usually.
Okay. Okay. So we've gone through steps 2 and 3 now as we've identified that. So what I'd like you to do, we're going to access your power matrix. What resources would you need? What would be 2 or 3 of the most critical resources that you would need to pull this off, to add this and to make this happen, to make time for this change?
Resources. Discipline, which means to me state control. being able to say, okay, this is what I do at this time, and get into that state of
the learning state.
Learning state, yeah. Commitment, which to me is a resource.
Okay.
Committing myself, committing.
Okay, that's making a decision?
It is like beyond just making the, it's like constantly being aware of the decision, like making it and then that's up here in my mind, say, and I'm just sort of drawn to it. And if I start wandering off that's like my beacon that keeps me moving.
So that's what you mean by commitment, that the decision and the awareness of the decision and how it pulls on you?
Yeah.
Okay.
Like I'm selling myself short if I don't meet that commitment.
So that's what that would mean, you're selling yourself short.
Yeah.
Okay. So there's two resources. The discipline
and the
state control, and the commitment.
Kind of the energy that's created by thinking about the possible results of it. Like there's a certain energy, a motivation that goes along with that, by thinking about the results. Like what will this do for me? Wow, that's what I want.
Okay.
You know, if this will work and do that for me, I'm going to do this. And
So with discipline or state control, and with commitment, deciding, keeping that awareness, and then with awareness of what this is going to do for me, that excitement, those are critical resources that get you to do that.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So as you put yourself into place kind of in your future, when you're back home and you're ready to walk through your everyday life, and then at some time, some place during that day, as you bring these resources to making that decision 5 times a week for 20 to 30 minutes, with that state control, that discipline, that commitment, that awareness, that decision, and then that awareness of what it's going to do for you, with those critical resources, is that enough to make that happen?
Maybe just throw in a touch of energy, like extra energy.
Okay.
To do it with zest and enthusiasm, inner enthusiasm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's another critical thing that's just critical for it. The energy, the enthusiasm, the passion. Okay. And is that enough?
That's enough. Yeah.
Well, I'm feeling really, really generous today, so I'm going to give you 2 more, but these don't have to be critical. They're just other resources you can throw in, just because I'm feeling generous, abundant. Okay. So what else would you like to throw in to this mix? Not critical, but it'd add a touch of something that would be valuable for you.
Make it a little bit fun to do it. Like it's not a job, it's like enjoy it, have some fun doing it.
Yeah. And do you know how to do that? Add some fun to doing that?
Yeah, I can do that, yeah.
Okay, one more just to throw in fun. It's a free resource. You just toss it in. Won't cost you anything.
Fun, discipline, energy. Maybe just a sense or a belief that hey, I can do this and I can get the results. Like kind of the opposite of doubt, like a sense of surety. Like this is going to work. Hey.
So that sense of surety. This is going to work.
Yeah.
Okay. So as you step in there and just notice on your timeline in the next week, the next month, as this goes out, who do you need to be? Will this affect your identity, or would there be a you for whom this would be no problem to make this happen? Who would you need to be, or what adjustments to your self-definition?
I've already got that within me. I just have to recognize and notice it.
Okay. So as you notice that, the person who can make this happen, let's re-access your intentionality. And so as you think about this at one level, then another level of your mind, why is this important? Why is this significant? What is your highest intention of all? When you get those results, when it makes your life better, what even comes at a higher level? And you can say it out loud or just know it inside. your highest intentionality. And as you bring that highest intentionality down so that you look at it with those eyes, that highest intentionality, does this give you the personal integrity, the personal congruence, the personal power to make it happen?
Yeah, yeah. It's like this allows me to grow and be what I'm able to be, like what's possible for me.
Okay.
Like it opens up, it makes what's possible more real.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Any objections at all as you take this out month by month?
Objections.
Are you fully aligned with this? Is this really fitting for who you are and what you want to achieve with this?
Yeah, this is fitting. Yeah.
Okay. So just be aware of that, enjoy that, let it integrate. Good.
Yeah, this is kind of cool. I like this, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
So we call this time for a change, making change, and we're just using the matrix to do so. And so if there's something you'd like to put into your life and make time for that difference, that change, then this will be it. So does everybody have something to work on?
We'll make time.
You have time?
Make time.
Make time. So this will go fairly quickly. We'll just do it 10 minutes each. 10 minutes each. We're getting really close to the end, so if there's somebody you haven't worked with and you'd like to work with somebody new, see if you can seek them out, and we'll 10 minutes each.